Now, Joshua Imarayi joins us from the streets of Abuja to get reactions, and I'm also joined by Dr. Sam Amadi, public affairs analyst, who will share his thoughts on the development. Thank you, Joshua Imarayi. Let me start with you. What is the reaction to this? It's quite an interesting turn of event. What are the people saying?
Well, Nigerians are reacting with shock over the recent development from the Canada court declaring that two major parties, the PDP and the APC, designating them as terrorist organizations. Well, you won't hear from me only. You'll be hearing from some of our respondents on the street who have a thing to say concerning the recent developments. Come over, sir. Come over, sir. Come over, sir. Well, I have a gentleman here who has his view particularly on this issue. Tell us the name, sir.
My name is Femi Ajimundan, Executive Director of Imarayi Group.
Okay, what do you think about the current designation of PDP and APC as terrorist group by the Canadian court? What are your views?
No, I'm not surprised if they say PDP and APC are terrorist group, because right from time the way they are doing things in Nigeria, rigging of our elections is a terrorist act, manipulating the judiciary. We are in this country when in number 4 in an election. It was number 4. He eventually ended up as a governor of a state today. So it's a part of terrorism. So I'm not surprised with decisions of the Canadian court, because both PDP and APC they are just recamping and decamping to each party, and they are the one that are manipulating the system. So they are part of terrorism. They are the one that they are in front of all those things. So that is my own thinking about it.
Well, this young man is not the only gentleman here who wants to give his views on the issue. We have another gentleman here who wishes to talk, but currently he's declining. Over to you, Blessings.
Well, giving us the reactions of the people. I'll now go to Dr. Amadi. Dr. Amadi, what is your initial reaction to the Canadian Federal Court's ruling that declared Nigeria's PDP and APC, two of the strongest political parties that we have in the country, as terrorist organizations?
Well, thank you for having me. I think first it was like a surprise. I mean, well, I didn't expect that coming. Surprised that what would have been the subject matter of litigation that would have triggered a ruling from a court or observation from a court. This is quite unusual in judicial proceedings. And later, well, I normalize it. And when you get to perhaps get more detail about it, you now see that maybe it's one of those occasions where international courts interpret their own laws and fit their laws, fit the facts that are not perhaps, domestic facts, international facts to the law. And so the court maybe interpretively did not go wrong too much, because they said that these parties have been involved in the democratic violations of democratic rights, electoral violence, and acts of violence against citizens. And of course, in this country, we've had elections that are very violent. And the bad thing about these elections is that there is always impunity. So if after election there's violence and the state intervenes, and the Attorney General of the Federation prosecutes those who are involved in violence, then those actions will not be seen as action of formal nature, official act of either the party or the state. So that court simply now says, look, yeah, we see it as perhaps a policy of these political parties to be violent, and there have been actual acts of violence and terror against citizens in electoral systems and other undermining democracy and people's rights. So they concluded, which is arguable, that they are terrorist organizations, and therefore, since the applicant himself has part of his claim to getting, asylum is that he was a member of these two parties. He has been once PDP and now APC. And this guy might not be a member or maybe a very low-level person, but having claimed that the judge concluded that, look, these parties are terrorist organizations, and therefore, under the Canadian law, a member of terrorist organization cannot be granted, can be denied asylum, because his membership suggests he kind of approves the official act of the party.
All right.
We know that these parties are not terrorist groups in the sense we understand terror groups.
Okay.
But we can see that they have been complicit in some acts that could, be interpreted that way.
All right, Dr. Amadi, thank you so much for your thoughts on this matter. We'll go back now to Joshua Imarayi, who has some more persons who want to give us their feedback regarding the labeling. Joshua, over to you.
Well, a gentleman here is currently here who wants to give his own opinion concerning the issue. Well, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
A federal court of Canada just designated PDP and APC as terrorist organizations because of the fact that they accuse them of election violence, subversion of democracy, as well as bloodletting during elections. What do you think?
That is a lie.
Why do you say so?
Because no one authorized, or no, every country has their way to play their politics. No matter what they said, Nigeria is moving forward, and those political parties has done all they can to see that we have left where we are and where we are going. It might not be too fast, but we are heading somewhere. Who authorized it? There's no terrorism there. Are we ever interfering in what they are doing? So I don't accept any external suggestion over Nigeria. We are old enough to decide, and we have the power to decide what we want that will best for our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can go. Mixed reactions from the street, particularly on this issue. While some seem to conform with this particular ruling of the Federal Canada Court, some are against it, saying that this is a wrong move by the Federal Canada Court, designating two major political players, that is the APC and the PDP, as terrorist organizations. Blessings.
Thank you, Joshua Imarayi. Let me come back to Dr. Amadi regarding what the last person there spoke about. It basically just called it intrusion, and, one can understand his point because that kind of blacklists Nigeria in a way. So, Dr. Amadi, what is your take on what the gentleman had said?
I think it has some truth. I mean, look, this is dangerous for the country. I mean, even though it has no direct impact, they're not outlawing Nigeria or taking action, but a legal document that identifies the two leading parties in Nigeria as terrorist organizations can become a basis, a material fact for further proceedings against persons who headed those parties. So it's dangerous. I think perhaps the Nigerian government should care about vacating, secularizing that decision. But again, this is within their power. I mean, a judge faced with the matter, the administrative tribunal for immigration, can interpret the law and the facts. And so he came to the conclusion that, look, these organizations are terrorist organizations. For us as a sovereign country, we will object to that. That does not properly characterize. We know that these parties and the evidence of international observers, and that's the danger. You see, when Nigeria acts very recklessly and lawlessly, they forget that these actions have today's globalized world. Narratives are being shaped. These materials are in public domain. The things that go on Twitter, everywhere, X, everywhere, they are on public domain. So when the elections are being categorized as bloodletting, as warfare, as unbridled violence, it's dangerous for citizens, it's for the country. I think it's very, very bad, and I think Nigeria should see it as something that calls for attention and quickly go and use such a right proceeding to delete that proceeding, because this is a federal court in Canada, a respected country in the liberal world. And it means that it's material, it builds up against Nigeria's reputation, it provides evidence for further proceedings, actions against Nigerian state actors and leaders of these two parties. And many of these people are in government, those are members. So it's possible, for example, to file action against the Nigerian International Court for gross violation of human rights, for such things as torture and so on and so forth, and plead in evidence the fact that a well-regarded court had ruled that in Nigeria these parties are terrorists, and therefore it provides evidence to indict and prosecute those high officers. So Nigeria has to be serious and see this as in two ways, yeah.
All right. Public affairs analyst, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sam Amadi, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.